Hey everybody, my name is Holly, aka Hanaya the Goddess.
And your girl Carly Red.
Welcome to Morning Mimosas, where we put value in criminal justice.
Promoting healing and education for the Black community.
Hey you guys, so we'd like to welcome you guys to our very first live. We are super duper excited. We have
Yes.
a very special guest in the building. But before we welcome our very special guest, me and my girl, we're just going to sit here and talk to you guys a little bit about morning mimosas and what our agenda is and what we have going on. So, as you guys know, Morning Mimosas is me and my lovely Vice President, Carly Sanders. And what we stand by is promoting healing and justice for our community. And when we put that in perspective, I'll actually have my Vice President go ahead and explain our perspective on promoting healing and education in the criminal justice aspect. If my Vice President can go ahead and speak.
Yes, as far as the criminal justice aspect, we are going to be solving cold cases, missing persons, um, cases in our community and actually different communities, different states, and everything. Um, we have different segments on healing, mental health, and education with businesses, black businesses, everything. So we are digging deep and we're doing this for us, for the community. So,
Yes, ma'am. We are very, very excited for everything that we have going on. And I'd like to thank you guys so much for tuning in this morning and or afternoon, wherever you guys are tuning in from. I'm actually going to go ahead and give a huge thank you to my vice president while I have her on my live today. Mrs. Sanders, you are a blessing to me. You are a blessing to Morning Mimosas, and I know you will be a blessing to the community. So I just want to thank you once again for being a huge part of my life and this brand and just being punctual. And if we can just actually go ahead and chat about punctuality for a second. Y'all, when you guys are doing a business, okay, you guys need to have punctuality, okay? We know that things are not going to be perfect because we all have our own lives, but if communication, I think I'll have my vice president actually go ahead and talk about communication because she's the biggest person. She gets on me about that a lot. um, okay, I
communication
communicate with
is
her.
really big. Yes, it's really big. And I feel like no matter how big or how small it is, communicate. Ask questions. There's no stupid question, no stupid answer. Like if you're unsure, ask. Like it's always better to be sure. Like communicate. I'm big on that. Communicate everything. I don't care what it is, and that's big. Um, with businesses and everything, professionalism, all that. That's huge.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why you guys. I know you guys saw at the beginning there was like a couple of ladies at the beginning, but we just decided to shrink to the two beautiful minds that you guys currently see on the screen. So when you guys see Morning Mimosas, it is I, Holly Sisa, the founder, and then Miss Carly Sanders, who is the vice president slash co-host. So
Hmm.
y'all, we have, like I said, a huge treat today. The guest that we have on, oh my goodness. When I was looking for guests, because you guys know that we're both new to podcasting. When we were looking for guests, we found this beautiful lady, and her story touched me because of similar struggles and similar like having health problems and health scares. Um, Carly, if you want to go ahead and say a few things about this special guest that we have coming on momentarily.
Um, yes, like Holly was saying, it's amazing. It's going to be inspirational. God is real. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about you guys' religions or beliefs or any of that, but I believe in the Father God and stuff, and it's amazing. We're going to get to there shortly. But before we do, I would like to give you a thank you, Miss Holly, the founder of this. This is amazing. Thank you for having me a part of this. Without you, there would be no me. Thank you for bringing me on, for believing in me, trusting me, making me, you know what I'm saying, your sidekick. We're gonna do great things. And I love you.
I love you too. And if I can correct you, you're not my sidekick. You and me are going to be kicking side by side. You understand me? I had to switch that up for you
Period.
because there's no sidekicks over here. You and I are
Period.
equal. All right.
Equal. I like that. I like that.
All right, Carly. If you go ahead and welcome. Can you go ahead and introduce our guest for today?
Yes. Um, so we have our wonderful guest speaker today, Miss Dr. Brittany Clayborne.
Hi, ladies. How are y'all?
We're
We're
doing
good. How
great.
are
How about
you?
yourself?
I am so good. I am so grateful for the opportunity to spend this Saturday morning with you ladies and hear more about what you're doing and share some of my journey with you and your listeners. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so
Yes.
much for being on. Um, First and foremost, Dr. Claiborne, thank you so much for being on our podcast. Thank you for being our first guest on Morning Mimosas. We are completely grateful to have you here. And if I can go ahead and just jump in, if you can go ahead and tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Do you want me to tell kind of my story or just kind of some general information about myself?
Yeah, you can start with the general info. We can dig into
Okay,
the
perfect.
other stuff after that.
Right.
Perfect. Well, my name is Brittany, and I have a doctorate of psychology degree. I am most importantly mother to 12-year-old Micah. I love music in all forms. I am an advocate for actually multiple types of healthcare, but especially rare disease, organ donation, and excuse me, and heart conditions. I am the chairperson for the Heart Failure Society of America Patient Committee, and I am really grateful to be able to share time and space with amazing humans like Holly and Carly that are trying to educate the world in different ways.
Thank
We
you.
definitely appreciate that, Doctor.
Yes.
If I can go ahead and ask you, what is your doctorate specifically?
It is a doctorate of psychology degree. So the focus is on the counseling part of psychology. Specifically, I practice a type of psychology, or I use, there are several different schools of psychology. Most use cognitive behavioral therapy. That's kind of what you generally see. The type of psychology that I choose to use in my practice is called psychosynthetic psychology, and it is combining the mind, the body, and the spirit and bringing them back into alignment and healing people in that way.
That is actually awesome. It's really
Ooh, I
interesting
love
that
that.
you brought that up. So while I was doing my research of you, I had found this gem that you had dropped. Let me make sure it's the correct one. It's this one right here. I just want to go ahead and show our viewers.
Journey starts in a different place.
Oh
True
wow.
healing places us all in this beautiful space of evolution. And if we are able to take that journey from the caterpillar to the butterfly, then we are truly able to we are truly able to allow the world to see the beauty that we could be. But so many people resist the cocoon. That's what I call it, right? They don't want to go into the cocoon, not knowing that by going into the cocoon, you are not going to come out. It's not the end. It's merely a transition to an evolutionary part of yourself.
I absolutely
It starts in a different
oh
place.
my bad, y'all. I
No,
absolutely
you're
love
fine.
that clip.
Mm.
Because my favorite insect is the butterfly, and it's actually for that reason. Um, it
Okay.
starts it starts in a place of, not knowing yourself, and then you finally breaking free and flying free. So I love that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I was just so inspired when I saw that video. Um, so you having a doctorate in that field just makes sense because the way that you worded that just is so perfect. So um,
Thank
if
you.
we can, thank you. If we can actually dive deep a little bit into your personal, not too much, but just what you've shared. Um, so you were getting your doctorate while battling stage 4 cancer. Do you want to go ahead and share that journey with us?
Sure. And I'll just kind of give you a kind of an overview, and you can pick bits and pieces of it that you feel would be most applicable to your viewers. So, I was in perfect health, and at the age of 26, I had a heart attack giving birth to my son, Micah. From that heart attack, the condition is called peripartum cardiomyopathy, and it's just an unexplained weakening of the heart muscle due to pregnancy. So from there, I went on 2 years later to get a pacemaker. With that pacemaker, I died about 7 times and was shocked back. So eventually, I was told that I was in full and complete heart failure and I needed to have a heart transplant. Um, so I waited in the hospital for about 9 months to get that heart transplant. While I was in cardiac ICU waiting for that transplant, I started and finished my master's degree. um, I knew that I had to survive, and I knew that my brain had to lead the way. We often say what the mind does, the body will follow. So that was my idea: is if I can strengthen my mind, then my body will be strengthened as well, even though I'm sitting in ICU waiting for this transplant. But my transplant did not come during that time. Instead, I left the hospital with a mechanical heart. So I had a mechanical heart for about 2 years, from 2016 until 2018. And then in 2018, in January, I finally got my heart transplant. And it's been 5 years, but 1 year after that heart transplant, I wanted to take a trip. I wanted to go to Australia, actually. And I went for a checkup and I asked my doctors, hey, am I all clear? Is the heart good? Can I go to Australia? And they said, yes, the heart is great, but you have stage 4 cancer. You have about 300 lesions between your spleen and your liver. So now we need to start chemo and radiation. So as you mentioned, one of the things I asked my doctor is I really need a number for a great psychologist. I need someone to help me process the deaths that I've died and this possible death that's before me. And he said, just use anyone. And that got under my skin so much because just anyone cannot walk you through how to live after you've died, ever.
Mhm.
Just
Right.
anyone cannot walk you through how to live if you are facing the the shadow of death. That has to be someone that is highly skilled in making sure that it's not about the therapy, it's about the evolution of the person, right? So I couldn't find anyone that practiced what I would consider like a critical illness psychology. So I started chemo and my doctorate the same day. And that is what I truly believe helped me to push through, um, and finish chemo and finish my doctorate, because now I spend probably 90% of my time, um, helping other people to heal mentally and emotionally and physically from some of the things that life has handed us to carry that we didn't ask for.
Wow, that's
Wow.
amazing.
Right.
Thank you.
That's amazing. If I, can ask, how do you stay strong throughout this? Because this has to. I can only imagine. You are a strong woman. Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Mm. Thank you for that. I don't stay strong. I think that is a misconception. I don't think there is a person on this planet that can stay strong. I think that we are human, and I think being able to say, I am having a day. And I'm not gonna make it on my own today. So reaching out to the people, or like you mentioned, Carly, going to God, or whatever it is that you need to get you over that bridge that day is absolutely necessary. For me, it was a combination of all of those things. For me, it was God, and it was my family, and it was my friends, and it obviously was my personal will. But the hard days make the hard days, I'll say it this way, the hardest days, the days where they come in and tell you you only have this many weeks, or the chemo didn't work, so now we have to do radiation, or the radiation didn't work, so now we have to do a trial drug. Those days make you grateful for days like this. And the things that we may stress over in a normal situation, we no longer stress over, because you go, this could be so much worse.
Right.
You begin to have what I consider to be an elephant perspective of things. When If you are a turtle and you've got to walk over something that stinks really bad, or something that's annoying, well, you're very low to the ground, so everything that you walk over is bothering you. Every single thing is
Right.
bumping on your shell and bothering you. But if you have that elephant perspective, um, once you've evolved into that next space of who you are, the same things don't bother you, the same things don't affect you the same way. So you're able to walk over things, and people will say, well, aren't you mad about blah, blah, blah? You're like, "God, I didn't even notice that." That didn't even
Right,
phase me, because
right,
my perspective is different. Everything about you, it's not just your body that's higher. Everything about you, your mind is higher, your ears are higher, your eyes are higher. Everything about you is elevated,
Everything.
and in a space where the things that you used to see, you don't see anymore. The things you used to hear,
Right.
you don't hear anymore. The things you used to
right,
say and think, you don't say and think anymore, because your entire existence has been elevated to this new space. Same thing with that butterfly, right? As a caterpillar, you have what you have, and you can only go so far. But once you move into that space of being a butterfly, your possibilities become limitless, because you are living in an evolutionary state of who you are. You know what you knew about being a caterpillar. So you have that wisdom and that knowledge. Not only are you able to apply that to being a butterfly, but you also have this new knowledge that you're attaining as this new version of yourself. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
She is laughing.
No, no, I had no, no. I have
Go
to do the snaps.
ahead.
Like, I love. No, it's poetry to my ears. So I
That's
have to give
deep.
it,
That's
I have to
deep.
give it the respect that it's due. So, oh my goodness, no, I truly appreciate you coming on here and telling us everything that you have been through. So, what would you tell another person that has been through your similar situation? How would you encourage someone who has been through it?
And we say been through it, right? We say been through this thing, because society has taught us to compare our trauma, right? Society
Yes,
taught us that my scars and your scars need to be compared, because my scar is bigger, therefore my trauma is worse. That is
yes,
not true. And it's
yes,
not to be measured,
yes,
right? Your trauma can be completely invisible. You don't have to have a mark on your body, and you could be 70 times more traumatized than I was. People
right,
ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh my God, how was transplant surgery?" I'm like, "I don't know. I was asleep. I don't know what the."
Right.
right.
Right. I was knocked
Listen,
out,
Yeah,
girl.
I was
right.
good. I was asleep. But there are women that have been raped and they weren't asleep. There are children that are
Right.
getting beat daily and they are not asleep.
They feel all that. They feel all that pain.
Right. They not only do they feel all of that, because of course I had to heal from this, right? When I woke up, there was pain,
Right.
but I have no memory of my trauma. So I can't
Right.
constantly replay it. But those women, every time a man steps to them in a specific way, they relive that trauma, right? Every time a man raises his hand to that child, he has to relive that trauma because he was awake and completely engaged in his trauma. He feels powerless.
Traumatized.
He feels
Mm-hmm.
unseen. He feels unheard. And when somebody comes and says, "Oh, well, look at Brittany's scar. Her trauma is worse than yours." No, it is not. It is absolutely not. And that it is not fair for us, especially us as Black women, ladies, to
Yes.
say, my trauma is worse than yours because, well, you didn't go through what I went through. No, but I went through something.
Exactly. We all go through
And,
something.
oh
We
my
all
God,
go
Brittany,
through
you have so
something.
much on your plate. Exactly. We all go through something, and people will say, well, you have so much on your plate, and I don't have as much on my plate, so I shouldn't be complaining. Your plate might not be as big as mine, right? If I give you one of those baby cake plates and I have a whole lunch tray, I can carry extra things that you may not be able to carry. So you deciding and minimize it, we gaslight ourselves, right? We are the first ones
Right.
to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Before somebody else ever comes and says it, we are the first ones to say, oh, you know what? I'm not going to talk about that. No, I'm not going to go to therapy. No, I'm not going to share that. We gaslight and traumatize ourselves or re traumatize ourselves because we don't allow our trauma to be heard and seen and healed from. So if I were telling someone, or if someone were going through anything, doesn't have to be what I went through, right? It can be any trauma at all. The first thing I would tell them is, first, we need to figure out who you are without your trauma. Because our trauma, unfortunately, can become our identity. For me, I became a patient. That's what I identified as. I identified as a patient. I was like, no, I'm not a wife. I'm not a mother. I'm a patient. No, I'm not a executive. I'm not any of that. I'm just a patient. And everything that I did centered around being a patient. So I would think in terms of, what would a patient do? Oh, I can't take that trip because as a patient, I have to carry extra medicine. Oh, I can't take my son to the zoo because as a patient, somebody has to be with me just in case this happens. So the first thing I would ask them is, who are you? Who do you identify as? Are you Brittany, or are you your trauma?
Mm, mm,
Because once you know who you are, then you know who you are not. And once you know who you are not, there are certain things that you will not allow into your life, into your space, into your evolution, into your cocoon.
mm,
Yes.
So once we figure out who they are, then we can start the healing. And that comes by doing it three ways. First, we shift their mindset. You have to shift your mental environment. Then we release the versions of you that you created to survive.
mm,
And then we evolve.
mm.
That is the process.
Figure out who you are.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Carly, do you have a question for our guest?
Um, I do not. I'm all out of questions.
Carly's out of
Miss
questions.
Doctor, Mrs. Doctor Brittany Clayborne, she hitting it right on the head. She yes.
I love it. I absolutely love it, love it, love it. Let me go ahead and yeah, we'll be ending here in about 5 minutes, but I wanted to go here and share something else that I found on Dr. Clayborne. You guys know me, when I have a guest, I like to do my
Okay.
research and find amazing videos. So I want to make sure this is the correct one. So we can go
Video
ahead and show you
guru. She know her
guys.
videos.
If you feel like a room without a roof, clap along if you feel.
All right. So I wanted to talk to you about your specific chapter in that book. Um, so yeah, I
Fair.
found this and I was like, I wanted to talk about her specific chapter in that Elevate Your Voice book. So can you go ahead
Mm,
and give our viewers just a little bit about what your chapter is in that book?
absolutely. That is an amazing book. It's an anthropology called Elevate Your Voice. And it really truly is about that. It's all of these women that have completely different stories and completely different paths, choosing to allow their story to be a guide map for other women in the world. And my specific chapter is about, sorry,
You,
okay.
it's okay.
Sorry, I jumped out for a minute.
It's
Okay.
okay.
It's about knowing what you have to offer and knowing how to offer it. But really truly, just like I said a moment ago, it's about knowing who you are. Everything starts in that space. Every single thing starts in that space. And what that chapter does is it starts out with a bit of my story of one of the times that I died. And then it basically asks the question, what if we became our own plot twist in our stories, right? I was not planning on having heart failure, and I wasn't planning on getting a master's degree or becoming a doctor or being an advocate for health. I wasn't planning on doing any of those things, but I had this major plot twist that happened in the process of my story, right? And we can choose to take that plot twist that happens in the middle of our stories and we can continue to write our own story, or we can let the plot twist finish the story. So even in the book, it asks a question like, we all know the story of Rapunzel, right? She was stuck in the tower and it was a whole thing and she couldn't get down. Like, what if she decided, I'm not gonna wait for the prince? I'm gonna order a ladder from Amazon and I'm out, right? Like
Right.
she be your own plot twist, jump in and change your own story because
Mhm.
we all have the ability to do that. Um, we are kind of taught as women to wait for somebody to rescue you, wait for somebody to come for you, wait for somebody to show up for you. And I spent a lot of days in that hospital and nobody showed up.
Mhm.
So either I was going to show up for me or I was going to die there. Now I had my family and I had friends and I had, of course, supporters and social media and all that stuff, but who was going to show up to fight with me? There are some battles people cannot fight for you.
Mhm.
It's
You
true.
have to fight by
No one at
yourself.
any point, no one at any point could have taken that cancer, put it in their body and said, "Oh, I'll fight for you for a little bit. You go get yourself a Jimmy John's." Nobody could have said that.
That's
It
right.
had to be me
Fact.
24/7. And if I didn't show up for me, if Holly didn't show up for Holly, if Carly didn't show up for Carly, then we would not be where we are in life today.
Yes.
Even in the smallest ways, showing up for ourselves is the most important thing that we can do as human beings. Yes, accept and embrace the support of others. Absolutely. I have an amazing support system that I adore, but they could not choose life for me. They could not choose to fight for me. They could pray me through it. They could fight beside me. They could hold me up when I was tired, but it is my choice to fight that battle. It is my will that is required. It's my mentality. that decides whether that battle gets won or lost, right?
Yeah.
Um, this year, not even this year, it probably will be a running theme in my life, but I was playing chess with a friend, and I the game was over. I was gone. I was dead. She had me dead to rights. I was done. And I said, okay, I'm done. I fold. I quit. I And she said, no, 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 no. Why? Why do you quit? And I said, well, you've got your queen, and you're just gonna you're gonna decimate me. My queen is gone. I'm done. I'm out. And she said, here, take my queen. Like, she put it right in front of my pawn, and so I could take it. She said, here, take my queen. And I was like, first I thought it was a trap, right? First I felt like this has got to be a trap. Nobody just does
Yeah.
that,
Like, what
right?
you got up your sleeve?
Yeah, that's why I was like, you sitting on another queen. I feel like I'm in harm's way. Like, you gonna put me in check? What's happening? And I said, why would you give me your queen? And she said, well, I have other pieces on the board. It's not about what piece you're playing with. As long as we're still playing the game, I can win with any of these pieces. So here, take my queen. So my theme for this year from that interaction is mentality rules, because if you if any of us can remember that, if we can remember, you know what, even though my queen is gone, I still have other pieces on the board. I am still in the game. If we can
Yes.
remember that, and if we can remember that every single piece has the same opportunity, regardless, it may not be as powerful, it may not be as rich, it may not be as tall, as smart, as funny, as whatever, right? But every piece that is on that board has the opportunity to win the game. Every piece on that board has the opportunity to put the king in check and win the game. And that's what she understood, and I didn't, from a life standpoint. As long as we keep showing up, as long as we keep moving our pieces, as long as we stay engaged in the game, it's not the best player that rules, it's mentality. Our mentality is what is going to decide whether we win or lose. She lost that game that night, but I felt like I lost because she ran me all around that board with that pawn. He ran me completely around that board with that phone. I was like, okay, I don't understand why this is happening. And finally, she was like, okay, you got it, you win, fine. But but she ran me around that board two or three times with that dang pawn. And it was just that mentality, that it was the mentality that, like I said, I may have gotten a one on the scoreboard, but she won that game. You know how it feels when you win an argument, but you know they got you. You'd be like, I mean,
Right.
I won.
And you
Yeah.
Yeah.
always gotta have that last word.
But like, right? Because you keep going back. When you won but you lost, you'll be like, yeah, okay, you agree with me? And they're like, yeah, I agree with you. You're like, yeah, because all I'd be trying to say is, they'll be like, yeah, no, you won, it's fine. You'd be like,
But
but
wait,
I
hold
want you to
on.
make
Let me
sure.
finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So to this day, I don't go back and discuss the chess game with her, but I have obviously created an entire program around that sacrificial offering of her queen
Wow.
because it was her mentality that taught me and brought to life how important the mind is in winning this game. It's not how strong you are. It's not how much money you have. It's your mind that is
Mine.
going to rule who you are and what you are able to accomplish in life.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So, mentality rules.
That is for
Mentality
sure.
rules. Yes.
That is for sure.
Um, I'm sure the viewers probably want to know. I mean, I want to know too. Is there anywhere like we can find the book or purchase it or anything?
Absolutely. So my book, so the Elevate Your Voice book is on Amazon. I had a book that I wrote the day that I got my transplant, and I pulled it off of Amazon. I'm going to re-release it this year on April
Okay.
4th, which is my organ donor's birthday. So I'm going to re-release it this year on his birthday.
That's
And
awesome.
you'll be able to find that, like I said, April 4th. And I'll update my social media. So if you'd like to stay updated, you can follow me at Dr. Brittany Speaks on all platforms.
Listen, y'all hear that? Y'all go follow. Go follow.
Yeah, I completely appreciate you coming on our platform, Dr. Claiborne. It has been an amazing experience speaking with you. You have definitely awakened us, and I know you have awakened somebody else today. So I appreciate that. We're gonna go ahead and say our final words. Dr. Claiborne, do you have any final words for our guests today?
I don't. I think I've kind of said it all. I appreciate once again, Holly and Carly, you ladies having me. I am so thrilled to be your first guest, and I know that this podcast is going to be incredible. The authenticity and the knowledge and the wisdom that you will share through this platform, I already feel is going to be pivotal in the lives of so many people.
I
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for coming on. Yes, you guys go follow and definitely get that book from Amazon. I am, for sure.
Perfect. My Vice President, Carly, do you have any last words for our viewers?
um, you guys know the vibes. Like, follow, share. Morning mimosas. Definitely go follow Dr. Claiborne and on her platforms and show some love.
All right. We're going to go ahead and head out, everyone. If I can get you two ladies to stay back with me after the broadcast has ended, I would appreciate it. And as you guys know, this is Morning Mimosas, where we put value in criminal justice. Carly,
Promoting healing and education for the Black community.
you guys stay tuned. The awakening has arrived.